Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the most iconic NBA players in NBA history. Arguably a top 5, maybe top 10 player according to most people. Many people know him for what he did with the Los Angeles Lakers, but not many people know about his time with the Milwaukee Bucks. What's going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops, and today I'm here to tell you guys about the truth about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's tenure with the Milwaukee Bucks. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, to make matters easier, we're going to break it down season by season with the Milwaukee Bucks, starting with the 1969 NBA Draft. It all started from a simple coin flip between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Phoenix Suns, in which the Bucks struck gold and they got Kareem with the first overall pick. And now moving on to Kareem's rookie season, 1969-1970, the team was pretty solid, got 56 wins, but ultimately came up short against the New York Knicks. The Knicks managed to beat them 4-1 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and this Knicks team was just very deep, whereas the Bucks were very inexperienced. Led by Willis Reed, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBusschere, and coach Red Holzman, this Knicks team was so insane they actually won the championship this year, and the Bucks really didn't have any answer for them offensively, as the Knicks averaged 113.4 points per game in the series to the Bucks 103, over a 10-point difference. Going into the 1970-1971 season, this was a new-look Bucks squad. They acquired Hall of Famer Oscar Robertson from the Cincinnati Royals. They got second-year guard Lucius Allen, along with Bob Boozer from the Seattle Supersonics. And they won 66 games in the season and actually swept the finals over the Baltimore Bullets, winning 4-0. That Bullets team had Earl the Pearl Monroe, Wes Unseld, and Jack Marin. The Bucks' big three played well in the finals. Kareem averaged 27, 19, and 3. Oscar Robertson got about 24, 10, and 5. And Bob Dandridge got himself about 20 points and 10 rebounds a game. Now in 1971-1972 is when things start to get crazy. Yes, the Bucks had a solid season, winning 63 games, but they ended up losing in the Western Conference Finals to the 1972 Lakers, who were definitely not a joke. Definitely couldn't mess around with them. If you guys remember a few years ago, in 2013, when the Bulls ended the Miami Heat's 27-game winning streak, and that was the second longest winning streak, well, guess who had the longest winning streak at 33? Yeah, these Lakers, the 1972 Lakers. But you know who ended their streak? Yeah, it was these Milwaukee Bucks. So if this Bucks squad was able to end their winning streak, and why couldn't they beat them? Especially since they beat them in the 1971 Western Conference Finals. Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, Jerry West, the logo. We all know him as the logo. He actually couldn't play in 1971 against this Bucks team when the Bucks won in 5. West missed 13 games this season, along with the whole entire postseason, with a nagging knee injury. But another reason is because of Jim McMillan. Now, Jim McMillan averaged 8 points per game his rookie season and hopped all the way up to 18 points per game. A leap that's very similar to, say, a guy like Pascal Siakam the past few years. Also, Oscar Robertson in this series in 1972 had arguably his worst playoff series ever. Averaged under 10 points a game, actually, and he shot 36% from the field. Not a good performance by him. And then the Bucks just really couldn't close out games. I mean, I'll show it on the screen, but they played 6 games in the series, and 3 of the 4 wins for the Lakers were all the really tight games. Every Bucks win was just a blowout. So when it came down to the wire, the Bucks just really couldn't close out and finish on these games. The 1972-1973 NBA season was yet again another 60-win season for the Milwaukee Bucks. But this time, they were actually stunned in the playoffs. In the semifinals, they played the Golden State Warriors, and the Warriors got the best of them in 6 games. Now, this Warriors team was just a way deeper team, to put it simply. I mean, the Bucks were playing 6 guys primarily, 3 of them over 40 minutes. Curtis Perry, he averaged 40 minutes a game. Oscar Robertson got 42 minutes a game. And Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 46 minutes a game. That's just ludicrous to think of right now. Also, it didn't help that Kareem only shot about 42% for the series. Additionally, the same problem that the Bucks had in 1972 against the Lakers was yet another problem against the Warriors in 1973. I mean, they played 6 games in the series. The Bucks' 2 wins came by 20 points, but 3 of their 4 losses came within 5 points. They just really couldn't close out the games. Also, the Warriors had balance. 6 players averaged over 10 points per game in the series. Rick Barry, Jeff Mullins, Cassie Russell, Jim Barnett, Nate Thurmond, and Clyde Lee. Also, Walt Hazzard and Charles Johnson were both really good contributors as well. Now, the 1973-1974 regular season was yet again another solid regular season for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, they won 59 games that year. They ended up getting actually to the NBA Finals where they would play the Boston Celtics. But unfortunately, they would lose 4-3 in a Game 7, which sounds close on paper, but actually, it really wasn't. Now, the Bucks were more fortunate in games that were actually tighter in this series particularly, but they just didn't have control over most of the games that it really didn't even matter at that point. And outside of a 9-point Game 5 Celtics win, every other win for them was by 12 points or more. And I mean, this Celtics team was really good. They have John Havlicek, Dave Cowens, JoJo White, Red Auerbach as an executive, Tom Heinsohn as the head coach, and other guys were solid like Don Nelson and Paul Silas as well. And a common theme carrying over from the 1973 playoffs is that yet again, Larry Costello, who was the coach of the Bucks at the time, was playing people way too far of minutes. Of the 351 total minutes in the series, Kareem got 345 of those minutes and Oscar got 337, which is just insane. Kareem took 6 minutes off in 7 games, and Oscar only got about 2 minutes off each game. And I understand that this is the finals, and you want your stars playing heavy minutes in the games that matter the most. But to put into perspective, last season in the playoffs, only 2 people averaged over 40 minutes per game, and it was barely within the tenths. And that was Damian Lillard and Paul George. Not only that, but Nikola Jokic set a playoff record of 65 minutes, and he didn't even average 40 minutes per game for the entire playoffs. And keep in mind, this was Oscar Robertson's last season, and he's playing this much right before retirement. And John McLaughlin, who's 30 years old, he also was playing heavy minutes for himself too. It was the 1974-1975 season that saw lots of change for the Milwaukee Bucks. As we mentioned, Oscar Robertson just retired in the offseason, and some of their new acquisitions were Jim Price, George Thompson, and Gary Brokaw. None of them could really amount to many wins per se. Also, it was in October of 1974 where Kareem told the Bucks that he had interest in actually leaving and signing elsewhere. At this point, Kareem's focus and motivation with the Bucks was just not really there anymore. In fact, it was so far off now that in a preseason game, Don Nelson actually poked him in the eye, where Kareem then punched the stanchion and ended up fracturing his hand and missed the first 16 games of the season. In those first 16 games, the Bucks went 3-13 and actually finished off 38-44 for the season. So therefore, they did not qualify for the playoffs, basically flopping their chance to try and keep Kareem in Milwaukee. Very similar to the normal cases you hear about people requesting trades just because they just don't have much help around them. And I mean, Kareem was in the middle of his prime. He was 27 years old, and he's one of the best players ever. Also, Bob Dandridge, who really should be in the Hall of Fame, also averaged 20 points per game and was 27 as well. It didn't really help the Bucks' case that they also traded Lucius Allen, who averaged 14 points per game in 5 years with the Bucks, to the Los Angeles Lakers after just 10 games that season. And in 1975 was actually when Kareem was officially traded. So the Bucks traded Kareem to the Los Angeles Lakers in exchange for Junior Bridgman, who averaged 17, 3, and 3 in his best year. Dave Myers, who played 4 years for them, averaged 15 and 7 his best year. Elmore Smith only played 1 year with the Bucks, averaged about 15, 11, and 3. And Brian Winters, who was actually a 2-time All-Star and averaged 25 and 3 in his best year. So I feel like sometimes this trade is blown out of proportion when it's just a one-sided trade is what they call it, because the Bucks still got decent value in return. However, as of today, 1971 is the only championship for the Milwaukee Bucks franchise, and 1974 was the last NBA Finals appearance. So were the Bucks lucky on their only championship run in 1971 that Jerry West was injured? Well, yes, but every championship team has some luck at least. Did the management and coaching in some ways kind of fail Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was with the Milwaukee Bucks? Yes. Do we have to take note that the Bucks lost to a team like the Golden State Warriors in 1973, which they definitely should have beat? Yes. Whether this does or does not persuade you in any way about Kareem, this is just his time with the Milwaukee Bucks. He still is one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And I'm sure the Bucks aren't too upset about this right now. I mean, after all, they do have the best record in the NBA as of today. With Giannis, Chris Middleton, and Eric Bledsoe leading charge, they have a real shot at winning a championship this year. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe what you thought about it. I really do enjoy doing these types of videos, so keep the likes up and I'll keep bringing them back. But I think that's going to do it for me, and I'm out. Peace.